Hey coworkers, welcome back to the channel. My name is Zhara-Marie, an online business manager helping you to increase profit, productivity, and peace of mind. And this is video 1 in our Scaling CEO series. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership. Let's be real. Sometimes we get excited, we start building, there are some wins that pop up, and then one day there is a business that we're running and we recognize that we weren't emotionally or mentally ready to lead. And it's one of those things that I love to talk about because we often allow the internet to bully us into thinking that it has to be a certain way and we have to build it a certain way and scaling looks like this, and we end up with inflated teams, underdeveloped skills, especially as a leader, and then things start to tumble down. Because scaling doesn't start with hiring. It also doesn't start with systems, and I know I talk a lot about systems. It starts with leadership. It starts with you. It's an inside job. And that's kind of why I wanted to start the Scaling CEO series with this video, because we have to get to the root of the issue. And a lot of times we feel pressure to scale very quickly, especially women CEOs in particular, which is I specialize in women-led businesses. And the reason for that is, one, the girl boss mentality, right? Social media is out there. It's pushing us to see constant growth. We're also looking at a lot of people who are way ahead of us and we're like, why aren't we there yet? But truthfully, it's almost like a ladder. And sometimes when you're going up a ladder, you have to stop each way to regulate yourself because you're out of breath. Your nervous system is maxed out and you don't really know how to go. So yeah, what does good leadership look like as a scaling CEO? It looks like clarity of vision. Because if you do not know what you're building, oh my goodness, you're going to stay stuck and you're going to stay saying yes all the time to things that don't align, right? I've worked with, at this point, a lot of people. And usually my best clients are the ones who are very clear on what they want. It becomes the filter for the decisions. It becomes the filter for your team actions, the filter for how you market. It becomes the filter for everything. You are no longer bound to what somebody else has to say, what somebody else's thoughts are, but it's up to you, your discernment, your knowledge, because trust me, you go back to school. The best school to learn about business is by doing business, right? And that vision helps to ground you so that things are not falling all over the place and things aren't flying everywhere, right? You need to be clear in your vision. And I always tell my story that I've tried multiple businesses before I landed in this one that was a 6-figure one. And I remember having that is a 6-figure one rather. But I remember having a clothing store and it was a thing that everybody loved, but it didn't serve me. But because I was very clear on the vision that I had for my life, I was very clear on where I wanted to be. It was an easy no. It was an easy, this is not going to work for me in this season. Who knows, it might work again in another season, but in that season, it was just not working. Another part of becoming a good leader is thinking about emotional regulation, because every fire doesn't need to be you. And every fire doesn't need to get outed right away. Some of them will just diffuse themselves. Every delay doesn't deserve a panic. And a very, very good example of that would be maybe the past 2 days. I've been furious because I have a small team and I just felt like these past couple of weeks, everything has been falling into place. And because I've been practicing a lot of emotional regulation, I knew that I could not say anything when it happened. So when the last straw hit and I was like, and a part of my emotional regulation is call my husband. I call my husband for everything. He is my grounding place. I call my friends. I pet my puppy. I did what I needed to do to be able to now think strategically and to think from a place of, okay, a lot of things are going wrong. Where was my role in this? Because this is your business. It causes you to be humble. Because you have to be humble. Business will humble you, whether you like it or not. Business will keep you humble, okay? Because today can be good and tomorrow it won't be. So business keeps you humble. And I had to look into myself, and when I looked on the processes, I went, okay, why did this happen? They didn't do that. All right. what would have made this easier for them to do? Did I put something in place or did I just leave it on them? And I got my answer. There's a lot of things I didn't do. So now I'm starting to do them, right? And that's what helps you now to make better systems. And before we go any further, I just want to plug right here the Finding the Gap Masterclass. So if you're watching this, you're like, this girl knows what she's saying, I want to learn more. I do not know where to start in my business and in making sure that everything is operating efficiently. Go ahead and just watch the Finding the Gap Masterclass. I bring you through all the different areas in your business that you can do on a self-audit, and you can see what you need to be tackling first. So go ahead, click the link in the description, and I'll see you in the Finding the Gap Masterclass. Third one, executive presence. This is what I've been learning recently because I've been spending a lot of time in leadership development, because as my team starts to grow and as my team starts to mature, I want to make sure that I can show up as the best version of myself. And what does executive presence mean? It means showing up as the person who is in charge. You can be kind and still command authority. It's all about the tone. How are you setting boundaries? You do not need to be friends with your team. And I know you want to be the cool boss, you want to be lovely, but I promise you today and tonight that you can get friends outside. You can get friends in other areas. You will not die if you are not best friends with your team. More than anything, they need to respect you, and they need to take you serious, and they need to want to be accountable. And a part of having executive presence brings me to the fourth one, which is listening to understand. Because while CEOs are very, very decisive, CEOs are also curious, right? Good CEOs, a good leader is a curious person, a person who asks questions. You literally will scale faster as a CEO when you ask better questions, because the better the question, the more information you get, so that you can now shift to the solution. I would love to wrap this up by talking about decision hygiene. Yeah, it's a term I came up with when I thought about what being healthy looks like, and I think about some of the most successful people I know, and they are decisive. They do not spiral. They make decisions based on data, by trusting their instinct, and also by using the logical side of their brain. What to do if you're not there yet? How do you move forward? You don't need to fake anything, but you need to be intentional about building it. And something like leadership is a muscle. You don't just get it and run off into the sunset. You literally just start trying. You start trying with artificial intelligence if you don't have a team. Start trying with your marketing plan if you're the only person who is implementing it. And then from there, you can build capacity while still growing your business. Dive into materials that will help you to learn. At every stage of business, there's a different type of content that you should be taking in, right? When I know a lot of us, when we're just starting out, we were reading a lot of, how to get your first client. What are some simple ways to use social media? A lot of selling content, a lot of marketing content. But I know at this point, the CEO who I'm talking to predominantly, you would have already solved client acquisition. And client acquisition is going to be constantly ongoing. But you've gotten so good at it because you have practiced it. But when it comes to running the business, leading the business as a visionary, you haven't practiced that. And it shows so much when we even look on what the sales look like for people who write marketing books and people who write sales books, or people who do YouTube videos on sales and marketing. Or if you go to a conference, even I've been to major conferences where the line is long out the door when it comes to questions about sales and marketing. When it comes to the operations and the leadership, nobody not have a question. Nobody wants to ask those questions because one, either we're afraid to be vulnerable and open. That a lot of us do not. We're not where we are, or we think we've gotten it right, but everybody else around us knows that we've gotten it wrong. So I just encourage you to go and learn and practice and build that muscle. And there you have it. If you put that all together, you will be ready for scale. You'll have the mindset to be a leader equipped to scale. See you in video 2 in the Scaling CEO series.